Let's take a look at Freeform. Okay, so what we're first going to do is we're going to open up Freeform. It's already on your MacBook or your iPad Pro. And if you don't have it down here in your dock, I'm going to go to Finder. Let's use the magnifying glass, type in Freeform. And I'm looking for this little kind of orange and blue logo. I'm going to double click that. Okay, now you may not have any previously made boards here. So what we're going to do is go to a new one. So I'm going to click on my Create Board. You may have an option somewhere else that says Create Board, but I'm going to click right here, and that's opened up our Freeform board. Now what Freeform is a whiteboard, and this can allow you to collaborate. You can have students collaborate together on the same Freeform whiteboard. You could use it to present, or you could use it as kind of like a note-taking guide, which we'll look at those other ways in some future things. For right now, we're just going to look at the basic features first. Okay, so what I'm looking at is this huge blank canvas, and I can do like a 2-finger pinch on my trackpad, and I can zoom way in and out, and you can see that this board can be as big as we want it to be. Now we're going to start with these tools up here. Let's start with this one. This one we can add a sticky note to our Freeform board. And I might want to do that if I want to have some group names or something like that, or maybe I just want some instructions or a welcome message or something like that. And I can just double click in that and start typing. Okay. Now let's take a look at this next one. We've got some shapes. We've got a whole list, hundreds of shapes here that we can add. I'm going to choose this rounded rectangle. I can resize that. You might want to use shapes just to add a little bit of color and some design to your Freeform. And I can do the same thing. I can double click in here and I can start typing directly in there. I could also go up here and I can add a text box to that. Okay, so I can include instructions. I can have labels and things like that if I need to. Okay. Now, another reason that we might want to use those shapes, and I'm going to delete my sticky note here. Another reason we might want to use it is I'm going to make it just really big. And the reason I'm doing that, I'm going to use it as a background, just so now I've got a colorful background here. Now, if you notice, I can drag this background around. Okay. Now, since I don't want to be dragging that, I want to use it as a background. What I'm going to do is a 2-finger click on that shape, and I'm just going to lock it in place. And now I can't drag that around. When I click the mouse, it doesn't let me drag that shape. But now that I'm looking at this big blue square, I can add sticky notes on top of it. I could add other shapes, and we see that that's the same color. So it's really hard to see that. So I'm going to change the color of that. So I'm just going to click in it, brings me this color menu, and let's go with that. Okay, so now I can start adding some color and some design to my Freeform. Now there's lots of other things we can do here. I can add PDFs, videos, links, images, all kinds of stuff here. This Freeform is a great way to house lots of information. So it's kind of like a brainstorming type tool. So let me show you what we can do with websites first off. I could go up here to this little moon and mountain, and I can put a link in using this, and I can type in a link or copy and paste a link. But I found that the easiest thing to do is while you've got Freeform open, I'm just going to go to Safari here. And let's say I want to take vocabulary and add that to my Freeform. So what I can do is I click up here in the URL bar, and I'm just going to take that little vocabulary icon and drag it right in here. Okay, so that's now added the vocabulary link to my Freeform. And if I'm sharing this with students, they can just double click on this and it will open up that vocabulary website. So it's a great way to house those links. If you've got some projects you need them working on, you can put all your stuff there. Now, on the iPad, while you've got Freeform open, I'm going to click here in this moon and mountain again, and the iPad will have the ability to scan documents. So whenever you click on that, it will open up your camera and you can scan a worksheet or whatever, and it will turn it directly into a PDF inside your Freeform. That's pretty handy on the iPad. Since I'm on my MacBook, I can't show you that right now. Let me show you a few other things you can do though. I've got a keynote here, and I've made a little template for linear functions. So what I can do is similar to that website. I can just click on my little icon here for Keynote and drag that right here. And now I've added that template to my Freeform. So if I was sharing this with kids, again, they just double click on that and it takes them directly to that Keynote template that they can work on. You can do that with Keynote, Pages, Numbers. Any Apple app will work that way. Now, another cool thing, you can take images directly from Google and just drag and drop them into Freeform. So let's take this picture of this cat. I'm just going to drag it like that. Anytime you see that little plus sign, that means you can drop it in there. I can resize that. I can place it on things if I want to. But I think a really cool feature is if I click in that, just a single click, I can go to this little moon and mountain and I could remove the background. So now I've just got the cat's head there. I can add it to things. I can really design this however I want it. So it's got a lot of fun things that you could do if you're presenting, stuff like that. Now, what I think one of the most important things about Freeform is you can visualize the flow of information for students. Let me show you what I mean there. I'm going to turn on this little connectors switch down here. And once I've got that turned on, now I can drag a line using this little arrow. I can drag a line that says, okay, I'm going to start here. Then I want to go here. Let's drag another connector to that one. And then we'll drag a connector down here. So now I've got this nice flow of information that we start here, we go to this information, go to this website, then you can practice using this Keynote template, for instance. You can change up these connector lines too. If I just click on it, I've got lots of different things here. I could change this to a dotted line if I wanted to. I could change it to an arrow, and have it pointing in the way I want it to go. I could also go here and just change the style of it. Maybe I want it to look a little bit more computery or something like that. It all depends on what you want it to look like. But there's a lot of options for that. It's a good way to visualize how you want students to go through this. Now, another important piece, I think, is this scenes feature. So if you were using Freeform as a presentation tool in your class, for a lecture or for instructions about, we're doing this project, then we go here, then we go there, you can create these scenes. And I'm going to click this little star down here. And if I click these three little lines, I can add a scene. And whenever I do that, it's going to take whatever image I'm looking at and make it scene 1. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to click that, and it's added that as scene 1. Now I'm going to make scene 2 so you can see the difference here. I'm going to zoom in on our cat, and I want this to be scene 2. So I'm going to click Add Scene. And now what I've got here is whenever I go through these scenes using these arrows, here's scene 1. I click it again. Now it's scene 2. So I may want to go over here for scene 3. I'll add that scene. Then we'll go down here for scene 4. We'll zoom out just a little bit. Let's add that scene. And then right down here, we'll add our final scene. Okay, and now when I click through, if I'm using it as a presentation, I say, okay guys, here's our class. Let's take a look here first. I'll read whatever's on that sticky. Then we're going to do this. Here's some facts. Here's a website we can use. And then finally, we've got our way to practice. Okay? Now, those are just the basics of Freeform. We're going to take a look at how you might use this in class. There's lots of different ways that this can be used, and I think it's one of Apple's best tools. So stick around for those other ones. I think you're going to like it.